This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded January 4th, 2011. Episode 24, The Detroit Debunking.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble from Chris Gamble's Analog Life.
Hey Chris, how you doing?
Good, Dave. Happy New Year.
Yes, you too, and all of our audience. Happy New Year.
Yeah. So it feels like last year.
Yeah. How long have we been doing the show now? In terms of, it'll be 20, what's this show, 24? So it's 24 weeks. Almost half a year.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy.
That is insane. You're only 5 minutes late today, I see. So if we round down, then you're actually on time.
Well, go me. I must have turned a corner in the new year.
Oh, awesome. New Year's resolution, huh?
There we go. Yeah.
Yep. Turn up on time for the Empire. But granted, you do have to drive home from work, whereas I'm just sitting here lazily eating my breakfast. So it's pretty easy for me.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting question. Should we round up or round down? Because you snack on the 5. If you're on the 4, I was going to say, well, we could round down. But I
might have to count it against me this time. Sorry. I'll try harder next time. Yeah.
Well, someone on the forum, my recent LCR meter review, somebody talked about that. They noticed. I don't think I noticed it at the time, but I'm going to have to go back and check the video. But they noticed that the LCR meter display wasn't rounding correctly. Because when you hook it up to the PC, it extracts extra digits out of the thing, but it can only display 5 digits. It can only display a count up to 40,000. And he noticed. I'm not sure if he's correct or not. I've got to check, but he said it was rounding it wrong or something. So he wasn't quite sure what was going on there. So that's an interesting question. If your instrument can measure more than it's actually displaying, then how do you round it? I guess you to use the typical 5, right, and go up and go down on the lower side of 5.
Yeah, unless you're doing like a ceiling and floor kind of thing, because isn't it ceiling? Yeah, isn't ceiling where it's like anything above 0, it goes to the next digit up?
It goes to the next digit, exactly. So maybe that's the algorithm they're putting in
place.
That'd
be weird, though. I wouldn't do that for an LCR meter.
No, I wouldn't either. I would just do your traditional, 5 you round up and 4 you round down, and that's...
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a name for that. Is there an official name for that kind of rounding? Half rounding or something? I don't know.
I would just call it rounding.
I just made it up. Yep.
I don't know.
I'm sure there is a name for it.
I mean, maybe they just don't care about those last digits. Maybe it's just all noise anyways.
Right. Well, that's the thing. This was brought up on the forum by this person. He said, because this meter, when you hook it up to the PC, it can extract a whole bunch of digits. It can like extract an extra 2 or 3 digits out of the thing. What use are those digits? Let's say you've got a 6-digit meter. What use are those 6 digits, having them on the display, if your meter's only accurate to 3 digits, for example? Why have the extra 3 digits? And it's a good question.
If I had to guess, I'd probably guess it was like a single precision kind of thing. Like if it has a single floating point precision internally, and then when it does a conversion, it just says, hey, I have these digits, but it doesn't mean the hardware necessarily supports it. So.
Not necessarily, that's true, but multimeters are a classic example of this. When you get a very high precision bench meter, it might be, say, plus minus 100 counts or something like that. So why have those extra 2 digits? Well, the answer is the difference between accuracy and resolution. Resolution is useful even if your accuracy is totally totally crap, right? You can have a 10% accurate meter, but you can have a 6-digit resolution, and that can be useful for getting comparative relative measurements between one component and another component, for example. So those digits are actually useful, even if the accuracy is totally pointless, because its accuracy is 3 or 4 digits above that or something. So that's the answer to the forum question anyway. Resolution, those extra digits can come in useful. So
if only we had some kind of time measuring mechanism so we could round up or down.
Right. Anyway, I've done a video on that, talking about counts and all that sort of stuff, and plus minus counts on meters and things like that. So, yeah. What have we got on today's show? That was the first item. That was way down the line. I just added that like 5 minutes before we started.
Jumping the gun.
Yes.
You just wanted to talk about your review, didn't you?
Oh, I did. It
was a good review. I liked it.
Thank you. Oh, they're getting too long. I mean, what do people think about 30-minute product reviews? People are obviously watching them. I've already had like 3,000 people watch it, and that doesn't include the podcast people. So people are actually watching these half-hour reviews. But
well, I don't know. Can you tell if people are actually shutting it off early? That would be the real measure, right?
You can tell their attention span. I haven't really gone in and analysed that
might be worth
as
doing
much.
Then.
But yeah, it might be worth going in. But people are certainly starting it, and they know it's 35 minutes long. It tells you up front, that it's how long it is. So people are watching. But I don't know. I just can't seem to do a bloody review under half an hour these days. It's crazy.
It's that off-the-cuffness. That's the problem.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just like to be wordy. My style is a conversational style. So I guess, what can you do? Oh, well.
Yeah. So let's see. To start out, we got a shout-out to SparkFun. For
SparkFun, yes.
Innovative new idea known as pick the junk up off the trash bin and sell it to people.
It's a pick and place grab bag is what it is basically, and it's awesome.
Love it. I know. It's so great. I mean, I don't really know all the range of the parts that they're using. I don't think they're using any like high precision parts or anything like that. But I mean, they use enough parts that are you're probably getting some op amps and some transistors in there and everything. So why not? And if people don't know what we're talking about, basically, a pick and place machine might have. Like the suction when it picks up a part and tries to place it on a board, it might fall off, or maybe it just rejects the part before it even tries to do that. All that stuff goes into just a bin where the rejects go, and that's what they sell you. They sell you a bag of that stuff for $10. So pretty cool. I bet they'll sell out of those, to be honest.
Oh yeah, absolutely. People will grab those, no pun intended. And and these, if you don't know about these pick and place machines, you've typically got it, especially for the real cheap throwaway items like your resistors and your capacitors. You can't give your manufacturer a reel of 100 resistors and expect them to populate 100 boards, because they're going to want some excess components. So when they wind the thing on, a few excess components will fall off. It might be 10 or 20 or something like that. So you've actually got to provide excess components to them. And if you've got really expensive components that are, if a chip is, $100 a pop or something, and you happen to have a reel of 1,000, well, you don't want them to be wasting those particular chips. So you've got to tell them that they're actually, expensive items. Please be very careful about how you reel them and put them on the machine and don't waste them, kind of thing. So, yeah, but that's something you've got to watch out. And all these things end up in the grab bag. It's...
It's cool. I like it.
It's a bin of components. It just looks awesome.
There's this one, when I was looking through, I think we did an episode on here about where to find parts. I remember someone linked us through to this really, it was a ham page, and it's just this guy, I think he might be in Jersey or I'm not sure where he is, but it's just like his own little grab bag of, he just mixes up components and sells them. And it's the same kind of thing, but his are even more, his might have like through-hole kind of components, like big wound inductors and all that other kind of stuff. So
yeah,
it can get crazy though.
I always love grab bags. When I was a kid, you go into Dick Smith or J Car and you'd go straight for the grab bag bin. They used to have a big bin where they'd have smaller bags of these junk, just excess components. And they were great. That was a great way to stock your lab. And I've still got tons of those components from, 25, 30 years ago. I'm not sure how good they are now, but I've still got a lot of them. And, it's just a great way to generically stock your components. I don't know how long you're going to have to spend sorting through them, because to make them useful, you really got to sort them out.
Right.
And if you've got things like resistors,
right?
And if you've got things like resistors and capacitors, especially the capacitors which won't be marked, you'd have to go through and individually measure each one, and well, that's more trouble than it's worth. You may as well just go out and buy them in strips from Jcar or from DigiKey or something like that. So
yeah.
Yeah,
especially with non-leaded and everything.
They're tempting, but only if you've got a lot of free time and you just enjoy sorting through bags of components.
Especially, if you got some good op amps in there and everything, I think that'd really be worth it. But...
it'd be useful, yeah. And other components which are marked, if they're marked components, great, not a problem. You can sort them out pretty easy.
Yeah. Well, we like it, Spark Fun. Keep it up. That's cool.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got. We got so we had a suggestion for a rant. That's a new one. A suggestion for a rant. Basically, it's from one of our listeners. I've lost who it is. I'm sorry. They're anonymous because they have to be in this case. Yep. Basically, he's been working on and off, whoever this was, and he wants to use like the IEEE kind of services that are out there and everything, and he can't because he doesn't have money for a membership now. So what the hell is he supposed to do? And because IEEE has some good resources for people looking for jobs. They post jobs all the time, and they didn't waive the fee though because he has to be making less than $13,000, I think, which is. His argument is that it costs more than $13,000 to actually live. So, right. Yeah, doubly so for where the majority of electronics people in the U.S. live.
Right.
If you're in California,
yeah, because you're going to be living in Silicon Valley or something, right?
Right.
So,
yeah. 13,000 might want to revise that number upward. That might be an old number, but it's kind of ridiculous. They should have like some kind of
discount for unemployed people. How do you prove you're unemployed though? Is there
well, you can. I mean, if you're in the U.S., you have to file for unemployment, so there's tons of paperwork for that stuff.
That's if you're getting unemployment benefits. But I've been unemployed before, and I didn't claim unemployment benefits out of principle and all that sort of stuff. So, what do you do in that case? I guess you're screwed, right?
I don't know. Maybe a letter from a former employer or something.
Right. Anyway, I reckon the IEEE, get on the case, IEEE. I reckon you should have a very heavy discount for unemployed people.
Yeah. Especially these times, IEEE.
But then again, if you're unemployed for like a month, do you jump in? Oh, quick, I'll jump in and renew my IEEE membership, and then bang, you get work again, and then...
Well, you could do a month-to-month basis or something. I don't know. There's a lot of things you could do.
I'm sure.
Or even just open up certain things that people that are unemployed would need, right? You don't need to necessarily be reading journals. Yeah. But you might need access to the boards or other kind of things like that. So
yeah. In fact, they should probably give free access to engineers who are unemployed, especially if you're a previous member and you're now you've proven that you're in the industry, you're a previous member, and now you happen to be unemployed and you're desperate for work, and your subscription expires, they should give you free continued access to the jobs board. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
anyway, no.
Hopefully they'll figure it out. I don't think they're listening. No, not listening.
Nah, of course
if
not.
They would have, blown their top already for the other things we've said about them.
Right. Speaking of California, you've put here that California is getting rid of the old 100-watt light bulb.
Yeah, I saw that on Cree's Twitter page today. I had known about this because Germany had did it. Yep. They had outlawed 100-watt incandescents a while back.
Well, that's the same here. We've had that for a long time now. I think at least a couple of years they banned sale of incandescent light bulbs here, which is just crazy. But
I mean, anyway. There's no negative effects from that, right?
Oh, well, the problem with it is that they went stupid and they did this complete blanket ban on all incandescent bulbs. Even when they're used in special niche applications. You need a light bulb that goes in your oven or something like that. It needs to be special high temperature bulb, right? You can't just put a compact fluoro in there.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Why does everything taste like mercury? This is weird.
And it was just... there's just better ways to encourage people to move over to compact fluoros and other low-energy light systems than to simply just flat-out blanket ban the old ones. It's just, it's pointless, People are just going to stock up on the old ones anyway, and they're just going to continue to use them out of protest rather than encourage people by, just banning something
Yeah, I'm not sure if we talked about it on here. The guy in Germany, though, that was... Did we talk about that on here? The guy in Germany that was selling 100-watt heaters, he got them reclassified.
No.
He got 100-watt light bulbs reclassified as heaters.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. They just happen to output light. And I mean, if you've ever put your hand over a 100-watt light bulb before...
Yeah.
It's pretty, like,
bloody hot.
That's the basis for an Easy Bake oven, right?
Absolutely. Very clever.
So I wonder if that's going to... Maybe that'll happen in California now, but...
Yeah, people stock it. You'll find the same. Have they actually banned them? What is the...
They banned the 100-watt, not lower wattage bulbs, though. Okay. And then the rest of the U.S. is going next year, so...
Right. No, they'll just find... Same thing here. People will just stock up on them, and... Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, you got like a closet full of them at home, Dave? Is that...
No, I don't know.
Are you admitting this on air?
No, I'm not a closet incandescent fan. No, I switched over to compact fluoros totally years ago. Oh,
yeah, last year for Christmas, that's what I asked for. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, at least half a decade ago, I switched. No, more than that. God, 7, 8 years ago, I switched over to compact fluoros.
Nice.
Haven't looked back.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Well, that's good because you're not throwing stuff out too. I mean, less. I guess the CFLs have problems with throwing stuff out. All the mercury.
I was going to do a blog on that. CFLs are notoriously unreliable. The components in them, just the way they run them, and they overstress them, and they don't survive in heat. These things they advertise them as 10,000 hours life on the box or whatever, but what they don't tell you is that is in free air standing at room temperature with airflow. If you put these compact fluoros in an enclosed enclosure with no airflow, they will die extremely quickly. 1,000 hours, hundreds of hours, something like that. So they're very susceptible to high temperature. So just be careful.
Yeah, I've looked at the block diagram too before, because you actually have to, for the fluoros, you have to like step up the voltage, don't you? They actually have like a step up transformer inside, correct?
To actually arc them over, yes.
Right. Yeah. So if people out there have never looked at the block diagram, I'll try and post a link to it. But it's a pretty standard step up transformer inside of it. When then they have to, and I think there's there's an LC tank in there. I'm trying to find it right now, but it's these kind of components these are normal electronic components, not just a wire, like a tungsten wire, like an incandescent is. So there's a lot more going on in there, and that's a lot of the failure mechanisms come from those actual components failing, as opposed to there's no filament to burn out. Yeah. It's not like the gas is escaping the tube. It's just the thing that strikes the plasma isn't there. So.
And then, of course, once they became... Because they're quite an expensive item back when they first came out. You pay $15 for one of these compact fluoro bulbs, and that's when the One Hung Low factory swung into action and thought, we'll get some of this, we'll get some of this market action, and all these poor quality CFLs came out, and they would literally disintegrate in your hand. They were physically just crap. Oh yeah, you go to screw them in, and they wouldn't even survive being screwed in. They would just shatter, and just really horrible physical quality as well.
Yeah, and I've noticed that when I've cracked one open before. You look at the actual components, and it's like the cheap Bakelite kind of looking boards.
Oh,
and, really junky looking caps, and But that's how we get them for $3, and that's what we demand. So
exactly, yeah. The market's got itself to blame, I guess. And then there's the other interesting concept where these bulbs flicker. Have you ever had that? Your switch is turned off, but you're like every 5 minutes or something, your bulb might just go flick. And it flicks on for half a second. A little tiny flash. You can notice it at night.
No, I've never seen that.
No, okay. Well, it doesn't happen to everyone. It's only due to specific home installations. And what it is the capacitance in the wiring, is enough to leak some charge and actually charge up the CFL bulb. Even though the switch is off, the capacitance wiring in your roof couples through to the CFL bulb, charges it up until it gets enough energy to go flash, and then it arcs on for, half a second or something like that, and then switches off, and then charges up again. So you might find these bulbs actually flicker at a rate of once every minute or once every 10 minutes or something like that. So, yeah, it's a very, very obscure kind of problem.
That is kind of And that's not just for higher voltage like 240 like Australia?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I think it happens in the US as well. So it's due to the capacitance of the wiring. So, yeah, I'm not sure if there's any difference in 110, but yeah, it certainly does happen. But it is bulb specific as well. Only certain bulbs are susceptible to it and certain house wirings, but you put the combination together and, you have all these reports of these lights mysteriously flickering in the middle of the night, even though they're switched off. And people think their house is possessed and they call in, they call in the Ghostbusters.
I wonder how many times capacitance has been blamed on ghosts, or ghosts have been, other way around.
Capacitance is highly underrated, I think, as a phenomenon.
It's the specters and the spooks.
Yeah, everything has capacitance. So
yes, yeah,
indeed.
So I wanted to mention the throwing out of the CFLs because there's been like a I don't know, you kind of see trends about stuff, and I've been seeing more trends just about like electronic waste. I saw there's an EE Times article, I heard an NPR story, all this kind of other stuff. And just kind of how it's, and you heard it like a couple years ago too about these huge junkyards in other countries in China and Africa.
Oh yeah,
where all this stuff ends up. But it's kind of resurging again. It's a topic that keeps going on, and someone was even talking about it on the EEV blog forum. So I thought it was interesting just to see what's going on in the regulation market, because that affects people doing electronics directly with RoHS, and then if people actually care about the implications of having all this electronic junk laying around, because it's not good. It doesn't just disintegrate. Unlike those light bulbs.
Those light bulbs are pretty simple. Electronic components, they've got all sorts of nasty chemicals in them. That's what RoHS, everyone thinks RoHS is, or ROS compliance is just about lead, but it's not. It's about all these other, I think there's 5 or 6 different chemicals that actually it actually controls. So
yeah, and they pump it up every year too.
Yeah.
I mean, they keep adding more things to the list, basically.
To the list of stuff. Yeah, exactly. That reminds me, have you heard about the story of stuff?
The story of stuff. Is this a bedtime story, or what kind of story are we talking about here?
It's a video. It's an online video done by this chick formerly from Greenpeace, I think. Don't quote me on that. And she does these really interesting videos, not always 100% correct, quite sensationalized, but they're excellent cartoon-type videos exposing stuff like this. And the latest one that's just come out, I've been waiting 6 months to see it. They've been hyping it for like 6 months, and it talks about exactly this. What do you do with your electronics waste? Where does it go? How does it? And I'll have to post the video. And it's incredibly popular. And these things, her videos get millions of views. They just go viral every time she brings out a new one, and they're fascinating. So we'll definitely link to that. Story of stuff.
Storyofstuff.com.
Story of stuff is it .com? Yep.
Yes, .com.
Yep. Storyofstuff.com.
Storyofelectronics.org, and that's a new one too. And maybe that's the reason this is coming up again.
That is the new one. I didn't know they had a dedicated address for it, but that's the one. That's a video. It's well worth watching. I haven't sort of gone through, and once again, they don't just do the video; they provide references to everything they say in the video. So
unlike us,
we just bullshit away.
Yeah. Oops. I know the interesting thing I was listening to on NPR about that was just how the way they get like the gold out and all the precious metals out of it is not by like I always kind of envision like you're breaking apart boards and trying to like actually pull off traces. No, they just light that crap on fire.
Yeah.
I mean, like
they just burn the whole damn lot.
That is not a good idea. That stuff is nasty.
Well, it's
smell.
fine in China, isn't it? No one cares about China or India or wherever else they're doing it. I'm being sarcastic, by the way. I'm holding up the sun.
Okay.
Names.
Right.
Yeah, but that's what the story of stuff video talks about in several of the videos. Is that because we don't have the problem here. We ship everything, all of our waste overseas, and all of your recycled stuff or your recycled electronics. You think you're doing good. It goes overseas to be, burnt in somebody's village over there, and they're the ones who get polluted and get cancer
and everything else.
It's just, I know.
Well, another question that comes up too is like, we talk about some of us, not to bring up a sore topic. Talk about printable electronics, but there's even, but just to bypass that subject completely. But like biodegradable type electronics. If you do have a printable, like even a printed circuit board, right? We do that with etching right now. But if you start getting other conductive materials that you can put down on a PCB, that maybe is not as speed sensitive as the fastest things, but you just need a run of the mill board. Maybe you can start making those biodegradable kind of materials.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know about biodegradable, but certainly not as harmful. You can definitely do that because, like all the major Dell and your Hewlett Packards and all those sort of companies there, and Apple with their iPhone now, everything. They're even advertising that all their products are designed with 30% recycled plastics, and they're designed not to be hazardous and for when you dispose of them and all that sort of stuff. And things are definitely happening there. I don't know if that'll get to a point where electronics is going to be biodegradable. I don't think that's possible, but
well, there's a new in this article I'll link through from EE Times. There's one from ST Micro, and then this group out of Switzerland called Debiotech, and they're working on it basically. That's the kind of thing that they're working on. So I think we're still in the very early research stage, but it is a possibility at least. I don't know about economic viability, which is
well, your board might biodegrade, but I don't know about your chips and everything else. So,
oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of components in there that just, your physical connectors and your mounting, well, no, your mounting hardware and all that, you could, I guess. You could, mounting hardware can be made out of biodegradable material, I guess. Stuff like that. Maybe shells for connectors, I don't know. But, yeah, there's a limit to how much you can do there, but everything helps, so that's good research.
Yeah.
Well worthwhile.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw another article about the... I've seen a couple articles, if you couldn't tell.
Right, yeah, you love reading articles, we know.
Yeah. So I saw another one about how... It was from... It was a weird source. It was from the Omaha Times. I don't remember where I saw it from.
Right.
Omaha Times or something like that. But just talking about all the different things that microchips are in these days. And it kind of seemed like a lot of people who listen to this are very well-versed in electronics, right? But this seemed like more of a layperson's explanation of where microchips are going and why they're in different things. And it kind of struck me as, they were talking about, oh, well, there's microchips in everything, and that's because they all need these things. And it struck me as, no, there's kind of microchips in everything because they don't know what else to do with them, and they're really cheap. I don't know.
They add functionality, though. They add smart functionality, which is which is important.
The application software adds functionality, right? Having a chip in there by itself, I don't know. I mean, yes, you're right that it does add the potential for functionality.
Yeah,
but if you just put a microchip in something and then you write some 2-bit program, there's no. I mean, who cares, right? Put a switch on there.
No, but you can make it smart. So instead of if you've got a little kid's toy that flashes an LED, right? Instead of having a simple transistor circuit that just flashes it on and off, if you put a 10-cent micro in there, then you can do all sorts of funny patterns with it. It's one of those.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying.
Once you start putting an intelligent device in, you do change the game a bit. So
you do. But what's the point of that, I guess? Maybe that's not my question to ask. I mean, we're talking about putting microchips in tombstones. It's like, really?
Oh, well, yeah.
Come on,
it's... why not? I kind of think that'd be fun. Imagine my tombstone, have a video screen up there, and it just keeps replaying the blog. I mean...
Do we have to go visit Grandpa? He's really loud.
And he talks funny. And
yeah.
Oh, dear.
Well, I mean, I'm guessing you wouldn't... Do you sound funny for an Australian? I don't know. I mean...
not...
Yeah,
I kind of do, I guess. Not as funny as
you
some.
Sound
it's
funny.
I'm probably, I guess, deemed fairly normal, I guess, compared to some more ochre accents. Ochre's the word.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
ochre
I don't know.
Yeah, like more stereotypically Australian accent. Like, yeah, g'day, mate. Yeah, how you doing, mate?
Wow.
Something really exaggerated like that.
Let's not do that
I'm not
again.
that bad.
Let's not do that again.
Right. That was a bit. Did I actually peak there? No, I didn't. I didn't peak.
It piqued my interest in canceling the amp hour.
Right, but I guess it needs some high pass and some low pass filter in there. So,
oh my goodness!
I guess you got the same in the US.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Those some of those southern accents are a bit.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of the South, segue. Right. I was just waiting. Just let Dave go until we find a segue. So TSMC, they announced today they're building a plant in Mississippi. They're building a solar cell plant. My bad. They're building a solar cell plant in Mississippi.
Well, they've kind of missed the boat, haven't they? China's got the market sewn up.
Right. Here's the thing that's killer about that, though. This is basically the equivalent, in my opinion, of like Honda or Toyota, right? Honda and Toyota are brilliant Japanese companies. Some would say otherwise because of Toyota's recent problems, but they, I'm still giving them the benefit of the doubt.
They are great companies.
I mean, like their production system and everything. Everybody knows that, right? But then they basically come over to the U.S. and they build large-scale manufacturing type things like cars, trucks, whatever, because it's much better to build it here, lose some of the local, if they're building it in Japan, obviously they'd pay for labor and everything like that and support the economy there, but instead support the economy here, build up a brand name based on that, and not have to ship cars all over the place because you have a local manufacturing force. And so now this is equivalent in solar cells.
Right, because they're getting so high, and they're actually quite big. You get these huge panels you're putting on your roof to power your house. They are physically huge.
And heavy. So, shipping on that would be...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so this is a big. I think it's a big deal. It's not as good as say a research and development team being in the U.S. And then building a fab here and doing that kind of thing. But at the same time, it's better than nothing. And
of course, I agree. It's a big thing. I guess you could claim it's a problem because it's not an American-owned company. It's the same here in Australia. Somebody comes and opens a plant here, great, but it's not Australian-owned,
Right.
So the profits go back overseas. But anyway, everything helps.
Right. And I think the thing that really struck me about it is I don't think... I think the U.S. is far off from this point I'm talking about, but, or rather the large-scale manufacturing in a different country because of shipping costs and all those other things they described, that's one thing. But I think because Mississippi is so low income and needs this kind of investment, I think it's even close enough to the point where if China's, if they ever floated their currency, which is a different issue, but even as wages continue to rise and Mississippi's are so depressed because of the economy there, it's starting to reach an inflection point where companies are looking at this and saying, well, maybe it'll be equivalent eventually, and that's just another thing that adds into it. That the U.S. might now have low-cost manufacturing. Right. Which would be crazy.
It would. You can do certain things locally. Yeah, there becomes a point where it's more economical to manufacture locally because of all the shipping costs and everything you've mentioned. That overcomes the cost of the shipping and everything else and all the other issues. And I bet you they're getting good tax breaks too from the state government. You bet your bottom dollar they are.
Definitely highlighted. Yeah. So
right. Okay. They actually mentioned that in the article, did they?
Yes, they did. Yes.
Right. Yeah. There you go. That doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah. Right. Well, that's the same thing here. States in Australia fight over, a company wants to build something here, and they'll fight over, who can offer the best deal.
Yeah.
So who can bend over the furthest? And take one for the team,
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Nah, but it's all good.
Yeah, so that's good news. That's obviously US news.
But that wouldn't strike me as the there are other states which are struggling more, aren't they?
Oh, I don't know, man. Deep South?
Well, there's Detroit, which is destitute, right?
Right. Yeah, but
they're
I think
practically on the verge of, riding in the streets, aren't they, or something?
I don't
if there's any people left.
Why not just go further, Dave? I think they're all zombies by now, right?
Right, yeah,
I don't know where you're getting your info.
No,
I mean, Detroit's not great, but...
no, it's great. I saw a great doco, the Requiem for Detroit. If you haven't watched it, watch it. It's awesome. They reckon that they're so, like, everything is so, it hit so rock bottom, you know, nobody's got a job, all the industries have moved out, that there's nothing left except they're going to move back to farming. They're actually, all the residents are setting up these little individual farms. They're turning the streets back into farms or something, and they reckon within 10 years, it'll be a farming city rather than manufacturing cars, which I think is brilliant.
That's pretty
Absolutely
cool.
brilliant. Good on them.
Yeah, I know. I've read some stuff about them recently, too. And actually, it's worth noting, too, that Maker Faire is up in Detroit again this year. So I'm going to try and get up to that, though. Because, you know, they still do have a very strong automotive base there.
Really? I thought it was dead.
No, I mean, it's hurting, but it's not dead.
Right.
And I mean, and the design portion too. I mean, so there's Kettering University up there, and there's U of M's nearby, and there's a lot of resources up there. So
okay,
I wouldn't write them out completely, but like you said with the land use up there, that's a big deal. So that's it's an interesting program they're trying up there. I don't know if it's going to work, and I think Flint is actually a bigger one where they have
Flint, yes,
yeah. So it's interesting. But we'll link through to the Requiem for Detroit too, and the Maker Faire Detroit, because they got a lot of hackerspaces up there. I mean, like in terms of like interest in the area, I think there's a lot of interest. And when comparing to like Mississippi, I don't think those two compare really, because there is still a lot of high tech like base. It's not as strong as it was, but there's in terms of like the institutions that are there, I think that's a lot stronger. So.
Okay.
And another thing that can't be written off is union labor, too. I don't think they'd want to go to Michigan.
Right, okay.
If you're making solar cells, I think you want to be making them in non-union states.
Right.
That's just a guess. I don't know if they talk about that in the article, but that's just a guess.
I'm sure it's factored in, yes.
Yeah. But way to go, Mississippi.
Absolutely, Mississippi.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. How do you spell it?
Mississippi.
I think every US kid's taught that in school, aren't they?
They are. Yeah,
how to spell Mississippi?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, God, I can't even say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's an interesting question. Do cities like that, cities and states like that, which are really struggling, I know there's lots of them in the US and other countries for that matter, do they actually hit a point where it becomes so attractive for foreign investment or other companies to actually move their stuff there, because they've still got the labour force. People are out of work, they're desperate to work, they want to work, and the states will no doubt offer them massive incentives to come in and build their big plants. And next thing we know, we'll be seeing an Intel, a $10 billion Intel fab plant in Detroit or Mississippi or something like that. Perhaps I don't know.
Well, Intel did. I mean, they had that $8 billion announcement a couple months back.
What was that?
They pledged over the next couple of years to invest $8 billion in the U.S.
Right.
I think that was Andy Grove, and Andy Grove is very, very big into innovation and U.S. investment and education, all this other stuff.
Oh well, you wouldn't think so from their previous history. They've been setting up everywhere but the U.S. I guess he's had a change of heart now.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to grow there too. I mean, like the thing is, there's talent everywhere. There's a lot of talent.
Of course. Yeah.
And if you ignore that, you're even dumber than if
yeah.
Like if you think that like nationalism in that regard is stupid. It'd be better to build. I mean, granted, it's okay still to build somewhere and try and lure workers in, and obviously that's been the model in the U.S. for the past 60 years.
Right.
But it's if you're ignoring that stuff, and you're running a company, you probably shouldn't be running the company because there's a lot of talent out there. So, yeah.
There you go. I just tweeted yesterday, and nothing, total non sequitur here.
Oh, okay.
That Goldman Sachs, who own practically half of the US and the US government, but let's not get into that, they just bought into Facebook now.
Yeah.
So oh, God, they got a finger in every pie. God, now they're into they've bought part of Facebook. Because actually, this is interesting. This is segues into tech startup companies, actually, because the traditional startup thing, the goal of any startup company was to go public, right? That was the sole goal of a startup company. Everyone becomes rich, bang, you move on to the next, startup. That was the sole goal. Now they reckon that the new thing is not to go public anymore, like Facebook and other companies are now showing. They're trying to hold off on going public as long as humanly possible, and they're doing that by getting this private funding by the likes of Goldman and Sachs, so that companies like Goldman and Sachs can sell private shares to their big business buddies, and then when they become so big they have to go public, then the big business people make the fortune instead of the, somebody else. But anyway, that's the whole idea now, is not to go public anymore. You can actually make your $1 billion or, $100 million by having private funding. So it's a new model.
Whenever I look at that stuff and I see, like, first off, when I see software stuff like that, I know it's like the times that we live in and everything like that. But man, like 50 billion, it's unreal to me because like, it's software, we talk about hardware on this program and I try and like extrapolate in my mind, how would you do that in hardware? And these days, I don't know. I don't want to sound pessimistic because it does sound pessimistic, but I don't know how you do it these days. I don't know how you start fab, I guess would be, like unless a certain person's predictions come true, right?
Right. And, okay. Yes.
I mean, but honestly, right? I mean, like that might be a way of doing that, but
yeah, I know. Software is everything because software adds the layer of functionality. People, that can give you a novel product or a novel idea or a novel website. In this case, of Facebook and.
Right.
Yeah. It's all about the software. It's all about the intelligence built into the product, not so much the hardware itself. So, you can still make a fairly big business out of some hardware, some neat little hardware thing or something like that, but it's not going to be a Facebook, I don't think it's going to be that big. So I share your feelings there.
Yeah, I can't imagine. And I mean, as for the private investment thing, I mean, bootstrapping has always been the best method to do, on the path to riches, right?
Of course, yep.
If you're going to start a company and you can use your own money or you can hold off and get some smaller investments, definitely do that because the more you hold on to, the more control you have, first off, too. I mean, that's definitely one thing. That means that the majority shareholder, if Mark Zuckerberg is the majority shareholder in Facebook, that means he gets to call the shots. And as soon as they go public to get money, and he's now down to like 2 or 5% shares of the shares, rather, then sorry, buddy. If the public doesn't like your privacy policy, then it's going to change, or not the public, but your shareholders.
Yep.
So that's definitely a reason to bootstrap. I mean, I completely agree with that. I don't know about the private investment. That's up to them.
Yeah. And if people don't know about the term bootstrap in this aspect. It basically means to start off with a small amount of money which you can afford, your own money. Don't borrow it, and then make it sell a few items, and then use the profit on that to build more, and then so forth, and you slowly build up with no investment capital at all. Yeah. So that's how all smart businesses at the ground roots start up. To come up with some, whiz-bang idea and go get venture capital somewhere, that's, it's extremely high risk. All your eggs are in one, but, the failure rate there is huge, but the failure rate for bootstrapping is very, very low.
Right. And the other reason is because you're not going to put your money in unless you really believe in it too, right? If you know you have a good product and you're willing to work 20-hour days, to get your idea working because, hey, you just give all your money to your business. I mean, of course, you better make it work or else you're going to go back to doing something else.
Yep.
You know exactly you have all of the skin in the game in that case. So, yeah.
And it comes down to, like, also we've mentioned before on here that you don't have to put in huge amounts of capital up front. You don't have to. You can just sell a simple product first that's not perfect, but it gets you bootstrapped. It gets you, gets you some income, which gets you profit, and then, you don't have to go out and spend $100,000 to get a nice molded case for your product. Right? That's that can be money down the hole, really. Right. When you can just put it in a square box and sell it and bootstrap it.
Do that in revision 6. Who cares about revision 1?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, since it's 2011, and since you've already gifted me one non sequitur, I wanted to gift one right back. How about some top 100 ridiculous claims for 2011?
All right. Do we have to go through that list? Oh my god!
Not the whole list.
Top 100? Oh.
No, there's not. Well, there's not that list. The other list. There's a list of trends in 2011, and there's a couple I wanted to highlight.
100 things to watch in 2011.
100 things to watch. That's right. That's right. So number 1 on the list actually too is 3D printing, which I think we've seen a little bit of that in the maker movement and everything else like that.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's cool. Micro businesses was another one. I don't know if you saw that one, and this is all from a company called JWT, and they do this list every year, and they claim so much success and yada yada yada. But micro businesses, I thought that one was kind of cool.
Yep,
that was number 51, and that was basically having all the means necessary to bootstrap yourself. Kind of relevant there. So they think that's going to increase as well. We'll see about that one.
Bamboo. Number 7 is bamboo.
7? Oh, you're only at 7?
I'm sorry. I'm not scrolling through fast enough. Beer is number 10.
Oh, well, I had some picked out, so we didn't have to scroll through them.
Right, okay, go for it. Sorry.
They mentioned near field because Google's pushing that still a lot.
Yeah, that's going to be big.
That's coming up. And then
it's already big in Japan, apparently, I've heard. Everyone's mobile phone's got near field, and they buy their their stuff from vending machines by swiping their mobile phone or something. I don't know how true that is, but it's what I've heard.
No, I have confirmation of that too. So.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Pretty cool. I mean, it's just a matter of the platform now. If Google does it, you're probably going to do it, right? I mean, like I know I will. And so that was another one they mentioned, though, tap to pay. So they mentioned near field as like, opening doors and all this other crap.
Yep.
But also tap to pay would be the thing you talked about. And then the last, and of the 100, I only saw like 4 or 5 that I liked. So the last one I had was self-powered devices. So energy harvesting and all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff, which can apply to very low powered stuff, watches, things like that. So
right. Yeah, and maybe even other things as
sensors,
power keeps
things,
dropping.
Yeah. I like number 17. Somebody was thinking there. It's quite novel. Capture advertising.
Oh,
if you go into, like, if you sign up for a website and ask you to verify if you're human, it's called a captcha, and it puts up like an obfuscated bunch of letters. Well, instead of just putting up the letters, how about putting up an ad? So, yet more ways to make ad revenue. It's just, is there no end to
and Alan Turing is rolling over in his grave.
Right.
to go from a test that tests it that checks if you're a robot or not to turning people into robots for brands.
Yep.
Pepsi, it's the one.
Number 24, Detroit. There you go.
That might have been where I saw it before. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
What are they actually saying?
I don't remember. I didn't put it on the list, Dave.
They're going to raise the city or something and consolidate the population, create new residential business areas.
They're talking about Flint in that one, I think, really, because I mean they talked about Detroit, but yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, it's a cool list, but I mean the tech centric things are just meh. Yeah, we've seen some of them. We'll see if I don't know if near field really takes off. I don't know how much I mean, it's going to take a long time to roll out, Yeah,
it does, but it's eventually going to happen. So
it will, but that Visa's going to be pissed, right? Or MasterCard. Yeah. All those guys are going to be pissed if Google tries to do this. So
you betcha.
And then they'll impede it. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yes, there'll be wars going on there. So
yeah.
Anyway,
did you see
go for it.
No. Did you see the predictions that went Ari on IEEE with Kurzweil and IEEE?
Yes, Ray Kurzweil. If you haven't seen it, we'll put up the link. He IEEE wrote a savage article of him last month.
It's on the cover
Basically saying,
of
oh,
Spectrum.
he's a crock of shit. And none of his predictions come true, and he's just, all this sort of stuff. So he actually responded to them. He wrote a letter to the IEEE. No, is it? Yes, it's the IEEE.
Yeah, it's IEEE.
Wrote a letter to the IEEE, and it's pointing out errors in there. Yes, it was quite funny.
I think you and I, Dave. I mean, some of the stuff Ray Kurzweil says is right. A lot of the other stuff is wrong.
Well,
but we should say enough things.
Everything. God,
we should say enough things that something's bound to be right, and then we'll just work on, defending what we meant by all the things we said that were wrong.
Of course, you can always come up with a clever defense. Yeah,
that's my plan for the printed chips, right?
The chip maker machine, yep.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Well, what I really meant was it's possible, but it's not economically viable.
If you go back, you'll find that, your original argument, you've modified your argument once you realise.
No, that's what I'm saying. You have to modify your original argument in order to...
to massage it into the...
That's the game. That's the game here, Dave.
Happened.
Yes, we need...
Dear.
So, but if you make enough, it's just the law of large numbers at that point. Something has to be right, and then you could just point to that one over and over again.
Right.
But I was right about near field communications or whatever else you say.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
More predictions. This is a bit. Well, no, not predictions, but it's an old IEEE article. Some people have been tweeting it. It's a couple of months old. But it's the top 25 chips of all time, and I love it. I love lists like this. And I think
you just love it because you're old. That's why.
I know, because I'm old and I remember them. So it's great. Where is it? Top 25 chips of all time. I've got it open here somewhere.
There it is.
Here we go.
That shook the world.
That shook the world. 25 microchips that shook the world.
Yeah.
Oh dear. And well, let's go through them. And I guess why not? Hey,
okay.
It's electronics related. We're talking chips, and of course they don't actually number them.
You'll have to excuse me if I don't know some of them. If I don't know some of them, some of these are 12 years before I was born. So just I'm just gonna sit quietly by for some of them.
Okay, well, the first one, no surprise, the 555 timer, or the NE, the Signetics NE 555.
Wait. I thought it was 555, Dave.
No, it's 555. Sorry.
555.
555 here in Australia.
Or...
Yep.
555, what was the last one? There was one more.
The 555 is fine, but it wasn't or the 555.
555,
the 555 timer.
Yeah.
But no, the 555. It's definitely not the 555. No. Sorry. And they've got a whole story behind each one, which is great. You've got to read this list. It's awesome. We'll put it up. And no surprise. 555. Bow. We are not worthy. And And the next one I love, which you probably won't remember, is the Texas Instruments TMC 0281 speech synthesizer chip. Now, nobody actually remembers the number. I don't remember the number for that chip, but it's just the TI speech synthesizer chip. It's what everyone remembers that, and that's circa 1978. And if you've ever watched E.T., the extraterrestrial, he uses the speak and spell machine.
That is my first exposure to this chip.
Right.
Through E.T.,
It was through E.T., I'm sure it was, But it was the hottest Christmas item in 1978 or 79 or something like that. So, the speak and spell chip. And that really was game-changing because at the time people went, holy shit, look what chips can do. Before that you needed... everyone knew you could build a computer with a whole, hundreds and hundreds of chips. But this is when, a chip can speak? Oh, my God, the future's here. It was just that game-changing, I think.
Yeah, I've looked at that chip before, too, because I forget why I was looking at it. But it's actually really interesting if you look at how they built it, and like how they built up the phonetics and combined them. So they actually they had a very small subset of sounds that they could combine together.
Yep.
And it is somewhat intelligible. It's a little different today.
It's a lot different, but it's still based on a similar concept. The speech allophones, the little little nuances of speech. They've actually done a lot of research. Massive research goes into this about how speech can be broken up into these little allophones.
Right.
There's other names for them too, but that's how they use them in these chips.
And that's coming back too, because there's there's a big push from Google even, to increase their translation and their text to speech and speech to text kind of stuff.
Text to speech is
and if that was
it really didn't improve much there in 20 years. I mean, from 1978 to it didn't improve a massive amount. Now it's pretty schmick these days.
Well, it's not based on discrete either, though. It's based. I mean, most of it is based on a CPU that is running at high high band or high frequencies. So
yeah, of course, yeah,
software based. Right.
Yeah. And there's been more research and combine that with today's computing power and everything else. And
right.
It's starting to come together, but it still sounds like a computer voice,
Right.
So
and
you can still pick it.
If there was a Ray Kurzweil-esque prediction I'd like to put forward too, it'd be the universal translator, because that's what I've actually wrote about that before, because I think that when that point comes, when I can walk into any country and be able to communicate with someone. Yeah, and I pull out this little device that actually lets people know that I'm a stupid foreigner too.
That little device will be called your phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Because everything's phone centric. Nobody has separate devices these days.
Right. So that would be mine. I can't wait for that. I can't wait.
And will that be done as an app, or will that have a dedicated voice chip in there? Because there's
who cares?
Massive,
I don't care.
Right? Come on, what do you mean you don't care? This is an electronics radio show. Of course you care. You want it to be hardware, don't you? You don't want it to be
I want it to be a
reconfigurable
reconfigurable FPGA. That's what I want.
Oh, it can't be a reconfigurable FPGA. They draw too much power. They're too big. It's got to be a custom.
For now.
It's got to be a custom
No
device.
way, man. Why not? You could reconfigure for each language. That'd be badass.
Yeah, but dedicated silicon. Show me a mobile phone that's got an FPGA in it.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, they don't, because they
don't. You're right. You're totally right.
They don't hit the power form. They don't hit the power. They don't hit the density. They don't. They're great for bigger applications that can afford the expense, and B, the power consumption, C, the size, and all the rest
of it.
D,
the awesomeness.
And they're pretty awesome that you can reconfigure shit. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. But
I have to say, after analog FPGAs are my vice. I like them. I think they're cool.
Yeah, they are cool. I mean, you get to a point, you're awestruck by FPGAs at the moment. A lot of people were, a lot of people are, and then you get to a point where you go, well, shit, I can't use them in everything.
Well, of course you can't. I know that.
But okay, well, you're a step ahead of some people then, because there's a lot of people out there who think they're the universal solution, and there's people out there who are betting that they're going to be the universal solution, and they're just...
No, I don't think so.
No.
Principal chips, once you prototype it on an FPGA, that is the solution. Rolled it back in there, didn't I?
Come on, dude. Anyway... next one on the list. Let's finish the show with this. I think we've only got 5 minutes left.
Well, yeah.
The 6502 microprocessor. Well, yes. Because it was 1/10 the cost or something. That's what enabled the Apple One. That's what enabled, Woz to go and build the Apple One. And definitely.
And people still build with them today. You see projects on Make all the time, or Hackaday and everything. Yeah. So 6502 are big.
Yep, absolutely. That was a huge thing. Even though it wasn't the first micro out there, but it was very influential because it started Apple. And and in the TMS DSP, the first TMS 32,000 series DSP, 1983. That was a big turning point when you could do, a DSP type processing in a device. It didn't have to be done all in software. So,
also a big important event in that year that happened. I was born.
You were born in 1983.
Yeah.
Holy crap, dude! In the 80s.
No.
Jeez, man.
Yep.
I was soldering shit in my lab in 1983.
I can't help how old you are, Dave.
I know. Oh dearie. I'm not that much older, but yeah, I started young.
That's good. That's good.
Next on the list.
I was soldering the next year. How about that?
Right. Okay. Awesome. The microchip PIC 16C84 in 1993, and Some people, one person on the forum claimed that this wasn't, that they claim Atmel should have been on here because they were the first flash device and all that. But I think, no, the microchip definitely deserves to be on here because it was the first microcontroller that wasn't either UV erasable or one-time programmable. It used E2PROM, and to do that, to be able to program the thing in circuit and you didn't need a very expensive and big in-circuit emulator like you had to before these. We take it for granted that you can just recompile your code, download, boom, boom, boom.
Done.
Whereas back in the old days, you either had to take the chip out, put it in a UV eraser, or
which
you
are
had
awesome.
to get or you had to get a big in-circuit emulator, which emulated the whole darn chip. And geez. Anyway, let's rush through the list. I think we're 741. I think our amp hour's up, but I'm going to go through Intercell waveform. The 8038 waveform generator, Western Digital UART. Everyone takes UARTs for granted, but before the chip came along, the Acorn ARM1. Not everyone knows that ARM processors came from the original Acorn computer back in the 80s, but that's its heritage. So there you go. The first image sensor from Kodak.
CCD,
The Deep Blue chest chip. I'm skipping a couple. 8088 processor. The first MP3 decoder. Yep, it's all there.
Yeah, these are all big ones. Yeah. I don't know.
Z80.
I like that list.
Yep, it's good. Lot. I think it's a good list. I can't think of anything offhand, that is kind of missing that was so important that it should have been on there. So I think they did well. Great list.
Kudos to the IEEE, yes.
Yes. Again, even though we do like to bash them occasionally.
We do like to bash them, but they do put us... I mean, like you've said before, their Spectrum is... I mean, the Spectrum magazine has some good stuff. I mean, it does. So, yeah, very nice list. All right,
and
I guess that's it, huh?
We're blowing it. That's the first one for the year, folks.
Yeah, and the first one without the... we're sorry for all the workbench of the week we skipped.
Oh, holy crap. we forgot workbench of the week.
Yeah, we'll get them next week.
We did. What did we spend an hour talking about then?
A lot of crap, man.
Oh, jeez. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah, we'll talk to you next week.
See ya.
This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded January 4th, 2011. The Detroit...